Okay, this is the seventh time I have tried to tape this. I have either made it too long, I was fumbling, I wasn't direct, something was going on. So I am praying that God gives me the words to use right now to make it as plain as I need to make this, okay? So today's video is about how the crack era has affected the adults of today, including myself, okay? So we have two different classes of adults that I want to talk about today. But before I talk about those adults, I want to pose a question. Does anyone else see that the sale and use of drugs skyrockets around the time of war? Does anybody else notice that? Okay, so the last major war that we were into. I mean, yes, we did Afghanistan and Iraq and all of that, but we're focused on the crack era right now. So let's keep your mind focused, okay? So around the time of the crack era, the Nicaragua, I can't say that word, Nicaragua, I can't say it. Damn it. Nicaragua, I can't. I can't. Whatever. Don't judge me. But that war was funded through the sale of cocaine. Pablo Escobar, El Chapo, all them dudes was getting the stuff over here, and the government officials, we won't say who or what entity, but they was making sure that it landed and came into our neighborhoods, okay, our communities. So, with that being said, the backlash behind it, no one talks about the effects of what truly happened, okay? So I'm gonna try and make this as quick as possible. There are two different classes or age groups, should I say, in my mind. I want to say early 50s to late 30s. Now, not everyone in this age group grew up with the same issues. Some went off to college, some had families, some found numerous ways of getting out the hood or not being affected by the drugs that were in the neighborhood. However, even with those people in mind, and the drug never touched your home or touched you, it touched you by experience, it touched you by news, it touched you by the neighbors in your neighborhood, right? So when I say it touched you through your neighborhood, walking to and from school, to the corner store, to grandmother's house we go, you see Miss Susie go over to Pookie and them by the gas station and cop her a little something or whatever. You've seen that happen. And there's a lot of people who may not have ever touched, taste, smelled, or a family member dealt with it, but you were affected just having that embedded in your psyche, whether seeing it or witnessing it on the news. Let's move forward. Then we have three different types of children that were affected by being raised by a user. Okay, so you have the user that hid it well, still got up and went to school and worked every day, still made sure that the kids were clean, going to school, they took care of their business, they paid the bills, they made sure food was in the house. But when they got through with all of their chores, or not chores, responsibilities, they partied the rest of the money away. They were able to hide from friends and family what they were doing But eventually, of course, all things hidden comes to light one day, right? But those type of people who were able to hide it, that particular child wasn't affected so much. The only thing that truly affected that child was maybe the whispers of the community. Your mama's on crack rock. Oh no, my mom. That type of. You know what I'm saying? For those who old enough to remember that song. Okay. Then you have the user who is. Everyone knows they do it. They're not as well put together. They still probably go to work or hustle or whatever they do in the hood. They in the neighborhood mechanic, hairdresser, whatever. But the neighborhood still knows that they indulge. Now, the kid that was raised by them comes up with a great deal of embarrassment and or abandonment issues due to the fact that them hiding it has them gone from the house for hours or days at a time. Everybody in the neighborhood knows what's going on. So now you are a direct, it almost seems like you have picked up the crack pipe and smoked it yourself. Look, that's the way the community now treats you, like you're some type of plague because of what your parents are doing in the streets. And then you have a child that was brought up in said crack house. So they're seeing prostitution, they're seeing drug use, they're smelling it, they're seeing the sale of drugs, they're seeing all types of forms of life that they shouldn't be exposed to. So mentally, emotionally, psychologically, all three of these children are having some form of abuse and financial abuse and abandonment issues. And all three of these children are going to grow up to be an adult, your coworker, your friend, mothers, fathers, okay? And these people are holding on to these traumas, hiding it, sweeping it under the rug, making it a real big ass mountain under that rug. But we're going to get back to that in a minute, okay? So with these three types of children that weren't able to flee from said environment, and they grew up with these abuses and financial handicaps and abandonment issues, while they're growing up, while they're still living in these environments and said situations, they start to turn to different forms of things that could possibly get them a leg up, whether it be selling drugs, stealing something to eat, or prostitution, depending on the mind state and the situation at hand. But think about it, and you want to turn off your emotions about, oh well, they decided to. No. At 9, 10, 11, 12, you are not legally allowed to work anywhere. No one is going to hire you. So what does that child do to feed themselves? They're going to run into the neighborhood Pookie and ask, hey man, can I get a couple dollars? Pookie in return might give it to him, but after too many of those times, now Pookie wants you to stand out here and move this pack for me. It'll make you a couple dollars. It's a win-win situation for you and me, little homie. They want to eat. Their little brother is at home hungry. They are starving. They need help. That child that needed help is going to grow up day after day after day after day because no one else showed them another way to feed themselves, they are going to turn into a 40, 50-year-old prostitute, thief, drug dealer, because they know no other way. No one slowed down enough. No one cared enough to show them another way. Most of the adults walked right past and seen them with them shoes sliding to the side and dirty and hungry. Nobody cared. So you have to look through the eyes of that child to see how they turn into this said adult. Let's move forward. We also are dealing with, let's go back to the news for a moment. We as a total, as a whole, as a collective, we seen some of the biggest death totals, I want to say, ever. I'm really big on documentaries and different eras, even before mine. And throughout history, you never heard of 600, 800 deaths in a weekend, in a week's time. And I really want to wake y'all up because the media pre-pandemic was telling us that certain cities, Chicago, Houston, whoever, okay, was having these dramatic totals in death: 200, 100, 95, 45 in a weekend. And this is the biggest total death totals in history. You lying, but excuse me, I almost cursed. Let's go back to what we was talking about, because the media and they lies, we can do a whole segment on that. So you have all of these people from early 50s to late 30s dealing with abandonment issues, being raised by users, watching their neighborhoods and certain people in their neighborhoods turn from the most gorgeous woman or man that they have ever seen to watching them turn into a monster. Those things all have effects on your psyche. It has effects on who you're going to be and how you receive life, how you receive people as you're turning into a quote unquote functioning adult. Then we have the crack babies. Now, let's just talk about what the doctor said about these said crack babies. They said that these babies had deformities of the brain, irregular heartbeats. They were addicted in the womb. They were going to have possible social anxieties that was going to cause possible temper issues. Because if you have social anxiety and you having a hard time communicating with your peers, getting your points across, that ball of confusion is going to turn into temper, is going to turn into you lashing out, is going to turn into irrational decision making. And let's just look at that for a moment. If these crack babies, now adults, have temper issues, social anxieties, they're still having addiction issues. And we wonder why all of these kids are talking about how they popping pills. And they not just popping pills. They doing Xanax, Percocets, all of the medicine that they give you, they prescribe to you, prescription. They prescribe to you at the crazy house. So you think about this just for a minute. Let me just stop here for a minute. We have addicted, deformed, mentally and emotionally challenged adults that are prescribing themselves crazy medicine. Did anybody else do the Matrix in it? And what? You know what I'm talking about? Okay. So you got addicted, overly sexualized, grew up in violence, overly prosecuted. And how we become overly prosecuted because of, first of all, they send this mess into our communities, which is the fuel to start all of this crime activity, which now gives them the right to come and overly police, which turns into overly prosecuted. Okay. So now all of these grown, addicted, overly sexualized, violent, irrational decision making, adults with social anxieties and temper issues are raising children from those spaces of trauma that they're hiding. Because the Black community, we really don't believe in going to get any form of therapy. We don't even believe in looking that deeply into ourselves to see if there is a problem. To see why you have these abandonment issues. You can't have a functioning, you are not going to be a functioning adult with these things. You can't have a functional relationship, marriage. You can't have a functional relationship with your children. You can't function properly in a work environment. And you wonder why we're having so many problems and issues. Then you giving advice to these said children. You watering their spirit with your muddy trauma water. Ain't that something? The thought of that. I'm gonna have to wait on that phone call. But the thought of that is mind-boggling, isn't it? And it's quite amazing how we walk around here and we're not even going to talk about the other traumas that we face. So combined, what are you feeding these babies? What are we feeding these babies? Okay? And here we go, going into a new war. We're in a new war. And I hate to say it because I'm a weed smoker. I smoke. But it's very ironic that weed became legal. It's weed stores everywhere right before we go into this new war. And not only that, our President Biden has taken $30 million to fund giving out crack pipes, giving out syringe needles to whomever needs it. and getting him some new crack houses so people can smoke and shoot up their veins in peace. So now it's legal crack houses. When so many people have went to jail for running crack houses. Now it's legal. They gonna help you smoke crack and shoot up in your veins. At the height of a new war. I think we're opening the door for some newfound traumas, y'all. What are we going to pass to the new generation? Or what should I say, what are they going to pass to the newer generation? Y'all have a good day.